today we're going to read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Let's start the chapter 4. Boom! They knock again. Dudley jerked awake. What's a cannon? He said stupidly. There was a crash behind them and Uncle Vernon came skidding into the room. He was holding a rifle in his hands. Now they know what had been in the long, thin package he had brought with him. Who's there? He shouted. I warn you, I'm armed. There was a pause. Then, splash! The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges, and with a deafening crash landed flat on the floor. A giant of a man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy mane of hair and a wild, tangled beard, but you can make out his eyes, glinting like black beetles under all the hair. The giant squeezed his way into the hut, stopping so that his head just brushed the ceiling. He bent down, picked out the door, and fitted easily back into its frame. The noise of the storm outside dropped a little. He turned to look at them all. Couldn't make us a cup of tea, could ya? It's not been an easy journey. He stood over the sofa where Dudley sat frozen with fear. Budge up, you lump, said the stranger. The Dudley squeaked and ran to hide behind his mother, who was crouching, terrified by Uncle Vernon. And here's Harry, said the giant. Harry looked up into the fierce, wild, shadowy face and saw that the bearded eyes were cracking in a smile. Last time I saw you, you was only a baby, said the giant. You look a lot like Dad, but you got Mom's eyes. Uncle Vernon made a funny, rasping noise. I demand that you leave at once, sir, he said. You are breaking and entering. Ah, shut up, you Dursley, you great prune, said the giant. He reached over the back of the sofa and jerked the gun out of Uncle Vernon's hands, bent it like a knot as easily as if it had been made of rubber, and threw it into a corner of the room. Uncle Vernon made another funny noise, like a mouse being treaded on. Anyway, Harry, said the giant, turning his back on the Dursleys. A very happy birthday to ya. Got something for you here. I might see on it as a but it'll taste it all right. From the inside pocket of his black overcoat, he pulled a slightly squashed box. Harry opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a large, sticky chocolate cake with Happy Birthday Harry written on it in green icing. Harry looked up at the giant. He meant to say thank you, but the words got lost on the way to his mouth, and what he said instead was, Who are you? The giant chuckled. True, I haven't introduced myself. Rubius Hagrid, keeper of keys on grounds at Hogwarts. He held out an enormous hand and shook Harry's whole arm. What about the tea then, eh? He said, rubbing his hands together. I now say to something stronger if you got in mind. His eyes fell into the empty grate with the shabby chip packets in it, and she snorted. He bent down over the fireplace. They couldn't see what he was doing, but when he drew back a second later, there was a roaring fire there. It filled the whole damn hut and with flickering lights, and Harry felt the warmth wash over and as though he sunk into a hot bath. The giant sat back down on the sofa, which sagged under his weight, and began taking all sorts of things out of the pockets of his coat. A copper kettle, a Scotch package of sausages, a poker, a teapot, several crumb mugs, and a bottle of some amber liquid, which he took a swig from before straining to make tea. Soon the hall was full of the sounds and smells of sizzling sausage. Nobody said a thing while the giant was working, but as he stirred the first 6 fat, juicy, slightly burnt sausages from the poker, Dudley fidgeted a little. Uncle Vernon said sharply, "Don't you touch anything I give you, Dudley." The giant chuckled darkly. "You're great putting up a son. Don't need bothering anymore, Dudley. Don't worry." He passed the sausages to Harry, who was so hungry he had never tasted anything so wonderful, but he still couldn't take his eyes off the giants. Finally, as nobody seemed about to explain anything, he said, "I'm sorry, but I still don't really know who you are." The giant gave a cup of tea and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Call me Hagrid," he said. "Everyone does. And like I told you, I'm keeper of keys at Hogwarts." "You don't know all about Hogwarts, of course." "No," said Harry. Hagrid looked shocked. "Sorry," Harry said quietly. "Sorry!" barked Hagrid, turning to stare at the Dursleys, who shocked back into the shadows. "It's them as they be sorry. I know you were getting your letters, but I never thought you know about Hogwarts for crying out loud. Did you never wonder where your parents now are?" "Learn what?" asked Harry. "Learn what?" Hagrid thundered. "Now wait just 1 second." He had leapt from his feet. In his anger, he seemed to feel the whole heart. The Dursleys were crying against the world. "Do you mean to tell me," he cried at the Dursleys, "that this boy knows nothing about anything?" Harry thought this was going a bit far. He had been to school after all, and his marks weren't bad. "I know some things," he said. "I can, do math and stuff." But Hagrid simply waved his hand and said, "About our world, I mean. Your world, my world, your parents' world." "What world?" He looked as though he was about to explode. "Dursley!" he boomed. Uncle Vernon, who had gone very pale, whispered something that sounds like "Mimber-wimber." Hagrid stared windily at Harry. "But you must know about your mom and dad," he said. "I mean, they're famous. You're famous." "What? My mom and dad weren't famous, were they?" You don't know. Hagrid ran his fingers through his hair, fixing Harry with a bewildered stare. "You don't know what you are?" he said finally. Uncle Vernon suddenly found his voice. "Stop!" he commanded. "So wait there, sir. I forbid you to tell the boy anything." A braver man than the Vernon Dudley would have quailed under the furious look Hagrid now gave him. When Hagrid spoke, his every syllable trembled with rage. "You never told him what in the letter Dumbledore left for him?" "I was there, Dursley. I stumbled to leave it, Dursley, and you keep it from all these years?" "Can what from me?" said Harry eagerly. "Stop! I forbid you!" yelled Uncle Vernon in panic, and Petunia gave a gasp of horror. "Get by your heads, both of you," said Hagrid. "Harry, you're a wizard." There was silence inside the hut. Only the sea and the whistling wind could be heard. "I'm a what?" gasped Harry. "A wizard, of course," said Hagrid, sitting back down on the sofa, which groaned and sank even lower. "And a dumb good one, I say. Once you'll be trained up a bit. With a mom and dad like yours, what else you can be? And I reckon it's about time to read your letter." Harry stretched out his hand at last to take the yellowish envelope. addressed to Emerald Green to Mr. H. Potter. The floor, hot on the rock, the sea. He pulled out the letter and read, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster, Albus Dumbledore. Order Merlin, First Class, Grand Star, Trip Warlock, Superior Magram, International Competition of Wizards. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been placed at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipments. Terms begins on September the 1st. We await your hour by no later than July 31st. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. So this is the end of today's reading. I will tell you what happens next time. Bye bye. 안녕.